My name is Jay Beatty. I'm the author of a book on IUL called Rigged: Unlearning Mainstream Financial Propaganda and Building Your Personal Fortune. I'm also the developer of Fortune Builder University, an online repository of training, marketing tools, and sales resources that help independent insurance agents become top 5% producers. If you don't know what that means, it means producers who are earning $150,000 or more in IUL commissions. What I want to do with our brief time today is challenge your thinking by helping you understand how a top 5% producer looks at the world, how that might be different from how you currently see the world, and outline a blueprint that'll put you on the same track if you decide that being a $150,000 earner is something you aspire to do. Now, if you're not all that familiar with IUL, how it works, and why IUL is the greatest sales opportunity to hit the insurance industry in a generation, let me offer this very brief summary. When used to build wealth and retirement income, IUL offers Americans a different way to save money and build wealth. That way includes at least 4 features that don't exist in the Wall Street world. Policy owners can build wealth that's free from market risk through indexing. Policy owners can build wealth that's accessible tax-free for life. Policy owners can build wealth at a fraction of the cost of what most competing Wall Street plans charge, including 401ks, mutual funds, and other popular wealth-building strategies and vehicles. And policy owners have access to a basket of living benefits that permit limited access to the death benefit for certain long-term care type needs. Of course, because it is life insurance, it's self-completing, it passes tax-free. But those features and a few others make it one of the most compelling wealth-building propositions for everyday Americans, small business owners, and heck, just about everyone else in, well, forever. Assuming you're already sold on the power and potential of the product, let's get into what I want to share with you today. I want to start out by asking you to answer a question to yourself. On your screen are 4 answers to choose from to the following question. What's the one thing that would most help you become a top 5% producer? A steady stream of leads? Better ways to present the IUL story? A level of product knowledge that'll give you the sales confidence you need? Or all the above? I'm going to wait just a minute for you to answer. When we poll this question with agents in our live presentations, all 4 answers get some votes, which is great, because as you'll learn, Fortune Builder University delivers all the above. However, it probably won't surprise you to learn that the clear number 1 answer is A, give me a steady stream of qualified leads. That's been the battle cry of the independent producer community forever. Just give me more leads because I'm pretty good when I get in front of folks. It's the getting in front of them part that's the challenge. Look, I get it, but, and this may be the point where you sign off this webinar, the leads answer is a complete cop-out. Now, if you haven't hung up, let me explain. What you see on your screen is a simple sales plan calculator. It asks you 4 simple questions highlighted in green, and based on your answers, it'll tell you exactly what you need to do in order to achieve the income level you've identified. So, how much commission do you want to earn? What kind of case size do you want to target? What's your closing ratio when you're able to present to folks? And how much of your commission are you prepared to reinvest in marketing your practice? Pretty simple, right? So let's build a sales plan. Now, if you're just looking to add a few more IUL cases to your business each year and bump your commissions by $20,000 or $30,000, that's fine. Perhaps all you need is our toolkit, and you can subscribe to that rather easily. But if that's all you want, what I'm going to share with you won't make much sense. If, on the other hand, you truly want to be a 5% producer, then as we've said, the bottom end of that earnings threshold is $150,000. So let's enter that as our earnings goal. Next, if you don't know, the average IUL commission is about $4,500 today. The calculator gives you a range of commission levels based on the type of clients that range from $3,500 up to $15,000. For our purposes, let's just stay close to the average and select 5,000 as our target prospect. You'll see at the bottom of the calculator a description of the various commission levels and what kind of client and funding level would be necessary to produce that commission. This is really a function of what kind of target market you want to pursue, from millennials to Fortune 500 executives and business owners. There's no wrong answer. It's going to be a matter of where you have the best access and where you're most comfortable. And these are ranges. They're not exact, but if you have some IUL experience, I think you'll agree they're pretty close. Now, let's talk about closing ratio for a moment. Fortune Builder University members will tell you that by using the Ultimate IUL selling process, the selling system our members know by heart and use every day, they'll close between 60 and 80% of the face-to-face meetings they have. Now, you may not quite be there yet, so let's just assume a 50% closing ratio, which most of you would probably say is either about what you're doing now or certainly achievable. By the way, the Ultimate IUL selling system is a completely scripted face-to-face sales presentation that comes with a prospect follow-along workbook. It's proven incredibly effective as a way to tell the IUL story and to move a prospect to a decision. And those who join us on this adventure will have a complete access to that system and complete training on how to use it. Now, if 50% seems high or unrealistic, chances are you have one or two problems, both of which our members have completely solved. Either you're not pre-qualifying prospects you present to rigorously enough, which means you're doing a lot of free consulting, or your presentation lacks closing power. One symptom of low closing power is if you use insurance company illustrations or other insurance company collateral in your presentation. Carrier illustrations chase away more deals than they'll ever close, which is why we don't use them as point-of-sale pieces. But I digress. The fact is, our product is so strong, a 50% closing ratio with qualified prospects should be a cakewalk, quite frankly. Just go back to our core question. Who do you know that doesn't need a better way to save money and build wealth? Finally, an important question for a top 5% producer is how much of their commission they'll allocate to marketing their practice. They understand that with a sensible, true marketing plan, there's a direct correlation between their marketing investment and their income, and the best producers allocate up to 25% of their commission to get the next piece of business. But that may sound a bit rich for you right now, so let's set the calculator at its 10% minimum level. The fact is, if you're not willing to spend a dime to make a dollar, you either don't understand return on investment or you're just not serious about being a top producer. Now, let's look at the results. To earn $150,000 a year, and by the way, that's not $150,000 less than $15,000 marketing budget, it's $150,000 after the marketing budget. You'll need to close 2.75 cases a month, or 33 a year. And since you're going to close cases at 50%, you'll need to make twice as many presentations, or 5.5 per month, just over 1 a week. Now, on the assumption that we'll only be able to present in about 1 in 5 people that we have a sales conversation with, we'll need to have 27.5 sales conversations each month, which is just over 1 a day in a 20-day work month. Remember, a sales conversation isn't a presentation, it's just a sales conversation, what others might call a prospecting call. It could be a 30-second elevator conversation or a 5 to 10-minute dialogue with a friend, acquaintance, or a complete stranger. When you do conduct those conversations the way we train you, chances are very high that 1 in 5 will invite you to sit down and share in more detail how your plan will work and whether it can work for them. That's it. Now, stop here for just a moment and look at this. Our industry offers us the opportunity to earn $150,000 or more a year, but requires us to really bust our hump and work our fingers to the bone by making a whopping 5.5 sales presentations each month. And to get there, we're going to have a sales conversation with just over 1 new prospect a day. How in the world can one person be expected to run that hard? Obviously, I'm being facetious. And I don't know about you, but I can't think of another job on the face of the planet that offers so much income for so little input. And if you want to challenge me on that, spend an hour on Monster.com and see what's out there. In fact, go ahead and try preparing a resume and sending it out to prospective employers. Put on the resume that you're willing to talk to 1 or 2 people a day, make 1 or 2 presentations a week. You need a company-paid marketing budget of $15,000, and in exchange, you demand a $150,000 compensation package. How many calls do you think you'll get from prospective employers rushing to hire you so the next guy can't? If you were moving at the pace of a typical sales job, you'd be required to set 5 to 10 or 15 appointments a week. If you did that in IUL world, you'd make close to $1 million a year. And believe me, there are producers out there who crank that kind of volume out with regularity. But back to our hypothetical sales plan. Does it seem reasonable and achievable to you? Is it something you could get your arms around and actually do if someone gave you a track to run on, along with the tools, the training, the resources, the coaching, and the support to execute the plan? Well, let's keep going. I want to look at the marketing budget figures for a moment. Again, I think an agent's cheating themselves if they're only willing to allocate 10% of their commission to marketing their business. But even at that minimum level, we have a $15,000 annual budget for marketing, which means, according to the plan, we can spend $455 per closed case, $227 to get each presentation opportunity, and $45 for a sales conversation. Now think about that for a minute. You could walk through the shopping mall and offer every person you encounter $45 cash for a 10-minute conversation. And if you use that 10 minutes wisely enough, you'll end up with your $150,000 a year in commission, net of all those $45 bills you gave away. Fortune Builder members know that a 10-minute conversation done the right way will allow them to earn that commission without breaking a sweat. By the way, how many of the people you'd encounter at the shopping mall do you think need a better way to save money and build wealth? I trust you'll agree that all of them do. And how many people at the shopping mall are probably already saving on a committed monthly basis in a quest to build wealth and retirement income? Could it be as astronomically high as 1 in 5? Because if so, that's the ratio of sales conversations to presentations this plan contemplates. What if it were 2 in 5 or 3 in 5? You may earn your $150,000 in the first quarter. Now, while I may have just given some of you your business plan for the next year, I'm not suggesting that wearing a sandwich board at the mall should be your marketing plan. What I am suggesting is that with a plan as simple as handing out money at the shopping mall with a real strategy in hand, the goal of being a top 5% IUL producer isn't abstract. It isn't just for the really smart, really pretty people. It's there for you. Now, if you're starting to think to yourself, man, I might be able to actually do this, then I want to show you why it's even easier. I want you to think about your practice right now, about all the lines of insurance you sell, about the struggle you have to endure to make those sales happen, and what the income reward is at the end of the day. Whether you specialize in final expense, med sup, health insurance, term life, annuities, or whatever, could you take a lot of $45 bills to the mall and turn them into $150,000 a year in commissions? Of course not. But why? All those products have limited markets. Only a small percentage of those people at the mall need any of those products. So you'd be giving $45 bills away not to have a conversation with 1 in 5 who need what you have, but 1 in 10, or 1 in 20, or 1 in 100. Heck, if it was 1 in 20, you'd give away $900, $45 at a time, to find someone who needs what you're selling. Close them at 50%, and you've invested $1,800 for what? A $500 commission? It's preposterous, impossible. But it's the reason you think you need leads, because a good lead program will sort through all the mall walkers for you and deliver to you for pennies on the dollar those who actually express some level of interest in what you have. So it's perfectly natural for you to want to replicate the Give Me Leads mantra for IUL. But it doesn't work that way because the product is so much less intuitive, meaning it's not readily apparent to a prospect in 30 seconds that they actually need an IUL policy. It is readily apparent that if they're over 65, they need a MUD sup plan. It is readily apparent that they don't have enough money to get themselves properly buried and therefore they need a final expense plan. That's why there's no reliable purchase lead source for IUL prospects. It's a sales challenge more than a marketing challenge. To effectively sell IUL, we have to be better salespeople than marketers. And while we may be successfully selling other lines of insurance, the sales skills required in IUL are completely different and require a different approach. That's the challenging news. But there's also good news. Leads are all around you. You walk by leads every day. in the shopping mall, at the doctor's office, the PTA meeting, at church, at the kids' soccer game, in line at the bank, and on and on and on. You're surrounded by leads at the restaurant, the movie theater, the festival. Everywhere you go, everywhere you are, you're surrounded by leads, leads, leads. Don't believe me? Just try for the next 24 hours being conscious of everybody you encounter in the course of your day and ask yourself a question. Is it possible that that person needs a better way to save money and build wealth? For crying out loud, we're inundated with leads. But it's hard to look at our daily encounters as leads because we don't have an effective way to convert even a scant few of those day-to-day encounters into sales conversations. That's a completely solvable challenge, and we provide that solution at Fortune Builder University. Imagine we had a way to convert just one or two of those chance encounters each day into a brief sales conversation, and that 1 in 5 of those sales conversations resulted in a commitment to meet. You're well on your way to the $150,000 earnings threshold that would make you a top 5% producer. Now be honest with yourself for a moment. You can go back to lying yourself in 5 minutes, I promise. But for 5 minutes, look inside yourself and be honest. If you don't know how to convert everyday conversations into sales encounters, then you don't need leads because frankly, you wouldn't know what to do with them if you had them. How can you have a sales conversation with someone whom you call a lead if you can't have a sales conversation with someone you run into during your day who's just as much of a lead but whom you don't see as a lead or haven't paid someone to put the lead label on them? On the other hand, if you had a strategy, a plan, and it was well rehearsed and it was part of your mental makeup so that it came out easily, not forced, then you'd have the hardest part of becoming a $150,000 producer in the bag. The rest is much easier, and we can teach it to you in no time. We have to understand that almost every other line of insurance is sold transactionally. In other words, it's simply a matter of determining whether a client needs the product, providing a quote, doing some paperwork, and completing the transaction. That's the formula. But IUL is much more involved than that. Almost no one knows what IUL is or has ever heard of it. That means almost no one has any conception of how it works. And almost no one has the foggiest idea of how or why it should be a part of their wealth building quest. Folks, if we're truthful with ourselves, our challenge isn't leads, it's sales. Prospects are all around us. They're oblivious to what they need. They're oblivious to the fact that we have it, and that makes it our job to inform their oblivion, and that is a sales challenge. Here's the reality. IUL is the equivalent of the cure for financial cancer, and we have it. The banker doesn't, the Wall Street broker doesn't have it, we do. Just about every person who acknowledges some level of personal financial responsibility for their financial future needs what we have, or at least needs to know it as an option and how it works in comparison to the strategies that are pumped out by Wall Street. And we have no direct competition, and absolutely no price competition. Zero. You will not find a top IUL producer in the entire industry who will tell you they've ever lost a sale because a competitor gave their client a better price for their IUL. Think about that for a minute. An unlimited market, an easily accessed market, a need that just requires discovery by that market and no price competition whatsoever. That's a salesperson's dream job, and we already have it. Folks, if we can't make $150,000 a year with that hand, I can assure you our problem is not a lack of leads. It's a lack of salesmanship and an inability to tell our story in a compelling way. And that's exactly what we do at Fortune Builder University. We provide that story. We teach our members how to take that story to the world every day, how to deliver it, how to build the case, how to present the outcomes, how to challenge the prospect and lead them to the obvious conclusion about what's best for them, their future, and their money. And that's how we create and support top 5% producers. We give them what they really need. I want to take just a few minutes to show you what that looks like. Let's go back to the shopping mall for a moment. You just got the attention of a shopper by holding up a sign that says $45 for 10 minutes of your time. Now you have someone standing in front of you, anxious to give you their 10 minutes, collect their money, and get back to shopping. What are you going to say to them? Really, I want you to think about that. What's the first sentence or first paragraph that'll come out of your mouth? Because that first 15 seconds will determine whether the remaining 9 minutes and 45 seconds will be worthwhile or a complete waste of time for both of you. So what do you say? Would you ask them if they've ever heard of IUL? Would you hand them a brochure from Carrier X? Would you talk about life insurance and ask them if they own any? What would you say? Would you give them a business card? And if so, what would that business card say? Would it in any way give you away as an insurance guy or gal? I can tell you exactly what a fortune builder would say. Thanks for stopping by. Let me give you a brief overview of what we do so you can decide where we take our conversation, if anywhere. If it doesn't make any sense to you, we'll just cut this short. I'll give you your $45 and let you get on with your day. Sound reasonable? Great. I help people who have committed to saving money and building wealth for themselves and their families, but who, given a choice, would rather do so in a way where they could never lose a penny of their money to up and down markets. They'd never have to pay a dime in taxes on the growth of their money ever again. Obviously, since we haven't met, I don't know whether you're saving for the future or not. And if you are, maybe you're already building your wealth in a risk-free, tax-free account of some sort. But that's the reason we're talking to shoppers today. Then, as a fortune builder, they shut up and they listen. No matter what the person says, they know exactly how they're going to carry the conversation on from there. They don't tell the person they're in the insurance business. They don't hand them a brochure. They don't ask them if they've ever heard of IUL. And they would never, ever hand him an insurance illustration. Talk about throwing a cold bucket of water on a sales conversation. They'd have a track to run on, a complete soup-to-nut sales plan that had the highest possible likelihood of qualifying and closing prospects and earning them $150,000 or more a year in commissions. We don't send our members to the shopping malls with sandwich boards and pockets full of cash. We do market. We do lead generate for our members. But we do so in context, giving them a tried and tested way of achieving their goals. Right now, it may seem impossibly complex, confusing, complicated, and too much to learn. But once you know it, the simplicity is stunningly brilliant, and conversational, and low pressure, and easy. There's no wasted time or energy, no chasing people around, no disappearing prospects, no think it overs, no Dave Ramsey says, or my financial advisor says. None of it. But it is a challenge. What we do requires our agents and our clients to totally change what they're doing now. So they have to be open to a new way of doing things. It requires a commitment to learn and practice and refine. It's expensive, or at least it'll sound expensive to you at first. It's difficult, and it's not for everyone. It requires that producers believe they can really earn that kind of money and commit to do what it takes to grab that brass ring. It requires work, hard stuff that most agents are frankly unwilling to do. It'll take a bit of time and it won't yield results next week. It'll take some staying power. It'll take a big share of mind to ingrain the learning and be able to confidently spit it out as second nature. But for those that have the drive and commitment, you can be assured that we'll match it. We'll give you that track to run on. We'll provide you with all the tools, the training, the resources, and the coaching you'll need to succeed without sending you to the shopping mall with a sandwich board. Now, if that's you, and if you have a budget to make an investment in yourself and the drive to earn $150,000 in the next year, here's what I encourage you to do. Go to www.youhavemyattention.com and complete the interest form that you'll find there. By the way, that's also where you'll find the business plan calculator we used earlier. So if you want to do some what-ifing for yourself, feel free to do so. We'll schedule a 30-minute phone conversation to help determine whether Fortune Builder University makes sense for you or not, and whether you're a good fit for Fortune Builder University. If it doesn't make sense to either of us, we'll have you back to work in 30 minutes. If it does, we'll put you to work in 30 minutes. You're in control. You decide, but you have to start the process. I hope we'll hear from you, and even if we don't, I hope you've recharged your battery today and see a pathway to IUL success going forward. Thanks for investing this time in yourself and in your future, and happy selling.